I do not know if Broadripple is a person. It would sound really good as a TV cop show. Get me Broadripple. But on balance, I think that it's a place, real or otherwise. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John. His name's Andy. I still dream of Organon. I wake up crying. You're making rain, and you're just in reach. When you and sleep escape me. You're like my yo-yo that glowed in the dark. What made it special made it dangerous. So I bury it and forget. More on that later. But first, a track from Andy for our delectation.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna offer up a tune by a band called Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos. Have you ever heard of that band before?
What a fucking name.
Well, it's not too different from Dexy and the Midnight Runners or whatever, you know what I mean? There's some similarities there. But yeah, this
Is there? Is there really?
Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos. And the track that I want you to check out by them is called Broadripple is Burning.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, you're equipped with all you really need to know. Come back and let me know what you think.
Sorry, but straight away, harmonica, acoustic. I just think of Dylan. Sorry.
Children, Broadripple is burning, and the girls are getting sick off huffing glue up in the bathroom while your boyfriends pick up chicks. And darling, I'm lost. I heard you whispering that night in Fountain Square. The trash-filled streets made me wish we were headed home. And there was love inside the basement where that woman used to lie in a sleeping bag we shared upon the floor most every night. And darling, I'm drunk, and everything that I have loved has turned to stone. So
Okay. Yeah, so we've got this Dylan starting. And then your man starts singing. It's got a nice voice. I get the feeling this is another one of these songs that Andy's chosen where the lyrics are super important and I'm not going to catch them. But anyway, there's some interesting, he says something about huffing glue in the bathroom. And then there was a thing just then about someone lying in a basement. Yeah, which is an interesting image, and my dark mind goes somewhere, which it probably is the correct place. But when the backing vocals came in just then, there was also it sounded like a breathing noise as well behind it, which is kind of interesting. I'm just going to pull it back a touch to when that begins. About there, I think.
there was love inside the basement where that woman used to lie in a sleeping bag we shared upon the floor most every night. And darling, I'm drunk, and everything that I have loved has turned to stone. So pack your bags and come back home. And I'm wasted, you can taste it. Don't look at me that way, 'cause I'll be hanging from the road. I will haunt you like a ghost. If my woman was a fire, she...
Try not to keep stopping this, but that piece just then, we had some very sustained notes coming through. I thought at first it was this sort of return of the harmonica, and it may have been a bit, but there was clearly a synth in there as well. Which we've talked about this in other songs where the sustained sort of synth notes give like foundation to the rest of the music, but there isn't really a lot of the rest of the music. So it gives something else. It's like another sort of another note of something. I don't know if it's concern, but yeah, there's a slight, I don't know, uneasiness is probably too strong a word, but yeah, there's something there. Perhaps it'll be revealed later in the song.
burn out before I wake and be replaced by pints of whiskey, cigarettes, and outer space. Then somebody moves and everything you thought you had will go to shit. Well, we've got a lot. Don't ever forget that. And I wrote this on an airplane where the people looked like eggs. And when a woman that you loved was gone, she was bombing East Japan. And don't fucking move, 'cause everything you thought you had will go to shit. We've got a lot. Don't you dare forget that. And
that little bit there as well. We said I wrote this on a plane, and then again the vocals come in and they sustain notes as well. In my head, it was almost like ghostly, but sort of memories. These sort of things sliding. It would be like the pictures he's seeing in his head. Probably way out here. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to make of this.
I'm wasted, you can taste it. Don't look at me that way, 'cause I'll be hanging from the road. I will haunt you like a ghost.
Guitar's nice.
And I'm wasted, you can taste it. Don't look at me that way, 'cause I'll be hanging from the road. I will haunt you like a ghost.
Musically, it got very much more interesting towards the end. You repeated that refrain again, something about he's wasted and you can taste it or something, and don't look at me that way. I'm hanging something. and I will haunt you like a ghost. I don't know what conversation he's having, but my feelings from certain words in this, it's word salad. I'm only getting little bits and pieces. I think he's actually, it sounds like he's the one who's haunted by memories or past actions. Doesn't seem like a happy chappy, to say the least. I'm not going to get the whole gist of this in one listen. But I know a man who does, and that's Andy. So let's get back and talk to him about this.
All right. So you're back. And is there any fallout from your experience with Margot and the nuclear so-and-sos and the song Broadripple is Burning?
Okay. So first off, there's no getting away from when you start a song with a harmonica and acoustic guitar, Bob Dylan is coming to mind straight away.
Yeah.
Which is a very different image from what the group name suggested to me and conjured up in my mind. The very British so-and-sos and the name Margot made me think of Margot Ledbetter, the 1970s TV series The Good Life. And it was not a good life painted here.
No.
Smooth as an otter's pocket, that segue. So I don't know. I do not know if Broadripple is a person. It would sound really good as a TV cop show. Get me Broadripple. But on balance, I think that it's a place, real or otherwise. That's what I'm assuming. So the song starts very simply. And it does build through a song to a certain extent. The singer starts off, has a very nice voice. And fairly quickly, I realized this is another one where the lyrics are key. So I have no hope. But from certain buzzwords that I latched onto and some of the musical choices, I use the term very loosely, gained some impressions, rightly or wrongly, and I will let you know what I think. So first off, he's singing along. And there's a few lines. I think he mentions the word Broadripple in the first line, but I didn't catch that. But he does mention that there are some girls huffing glue in the bathroom, which is a classy move. And then also a couple of lines later is about a woman lying in the basement, which made my mind go somewhere darker than was probably intended. It was probably romantic poverty rather than Joseph Fritzl. But anyway, so the singer addresses the subject of the song as darling. But as he mentions being quite often being wasted and drunk and turning to stone or shit, I'm thinking that things aren't all daisy chains in the garden of love. I noted down some of the times. At 50 seconds, we get some backing vocals with some sustained oohs and ahs coming in. And one of them is really breathy. So you've got there's another one, and it sounds almost like someone's sighing. It's just almost breath rather than a note, and it's slightly ghostly. More on that later. He pleads with her to come back, and so we know where the relationship is up the shitter, basically. We get what I believe is the chorus, and he's still wasted, which is good to know. And he says the lines, which repeats again, something about wasted and tasted. Don't look at me that way. Something I'll be hanging from a rope. I will haunt you like a ghost. So there are some sustained notes from what I initially thought was the return of the harmonica. And it could have been for a very short time, but I think it was actually a synth. And interestingly, we've talked in previous episodes a lot about how effective these sustained notes from synths can be in the song, and creating like foundation or filling things out. This isn't the case here at all. It adds a tone of atmosphere. Very briefly, when it first came in, a straight thing popped into my head was creaking doors. But it's more like, and I was getting this a lot throughout the song, it's more like images or memories or just visions sliding in and out of his mind as I see it. Again, a slightly ghostly feel. There's not quite there's a tone to this as well, and at this point, it's not quite concern. Uh, Uneasiness would be putting it a bit too strongly, but there are the seeds of something not being right or musically planted. Um, so the next verse starts to build, and at this point, we now have some simple sort of tapping percussion as well. Um, and there's some stuff about Japan and writing this on a plane. Um, and there's more sort of these sepia memory sort of vocals as I see them. And a gentle little shaker sneaks his way in as well and joins in. And don't think I didn't notice him at the back.
Okay.
He implores the subject to don't fucking move, which something about we have a lot to share, I think he says. So he does sound like quite the catch, and I don't know what she's thinking. But the next chorus has a little brief like plinking piano. And then there's this electric guitar, which is sort of slidey, but with a gentle buzz to it as well. It's a really interesting sound, and it kind of almost waves between what I would class as almost like country sound going into a low-key indie sound as well. It's just really interesting because it kind of wavers along as it goes. I keep imagining like this sort of the wave form of it being some very cool and twisting. It repeats the sort of chorus of more plinking and a touch more from the drummer and the guitarist. And the last line of the chorus, "I will hunt you like I will hunt you, I will haunt you like a ghost," is ringing out as we end. Now, this is quite musically fairly simple, but it does build, and there's more and more sort of layers and textures to it towards the end. But my sort of take on this is he's clearly the person who is haunted, not the subject that he threatens. Probably by his past actions. So I didn't catch a lot of the lyrics, as you can tell. But he sounds like he's fucked up, you know. And he may justify in his head that he's fucked up because she's buggered off. But I suspect she's buggered off because he's fucked up.
He fucked up, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Chicken and egg situation.
And that's why he doesn't want her to look at him that way, because it reminds him of what he's done, which it could be anything, you know. And that's as much as I got on the first listen. But I thought it's really interesting. I thought the music was very pleasant. Wasn't like anything outstanding or whatever. It was just really nice. But I thought that the whole thing had a nice vibe to it, and then the narration to it was interesting. And I will have to listen to it again to catch more. But it, held my attention, and I thought it was interesting. And the pictures in my head that it put up, this sort of ghostly sliding in and out of memories as he's really battling himself, really, rather than his object of his desire, which I think is a really nice way of writing something as well. So yeah, I thought it's really interesting.
Yeah, I love this song. I think it's a great song, just about, very general. I'm not going to drill down on anything, but it's just a great song about regret, and I think it covers it quite well. And very relatable the way he delivers this, the words that he uses. And I also think that the way that the song is kind of tactfully and tastefully and not ham-handedly assembled is another reason that I really, really adore this track. So Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos, they are an American rock band from Indianapolis, Indiana. And between the years of 2006 and 2014, they released 6 full-length albums. Their sound has been described as folk, baroque pop, and art rock. The band's founding members, Richard Edwards and Andy Fry, met while they were teens. Eventually, in 2004, the two formed the band, and they chose the name because of the character Margot in Wes Anderson's 2001 film, The Royal Tenenbaums. Yes, so that's where we get Margot from, which is funny because you had said a television show, right? So it's actually from a film, but it's funny.
Just I will divert you a second. So, The Good Life, 70s British TV drama, sort of sitcom. It was an institution, a very, very gentle humor. This guy, who's a banker or whatever, has a revelation one day, comes home, decides to live his life as completely sort of self-sufficient. So he turns his back garden into a mini farm and stuff, and they run a generator of oil and stuff. And he's called Tom Good, so it's The Good Life. And the next door neighbors are Margot, Jerry Ledbetter, and she's a tremendous snob, and he's like a henpecked husband. And the actual storyline, the writing is really lame, but the characters, particularly Margot and Jerry, are just wonderful. There's this lovely bit where Margot's away for the evening at some sort of women's, institute sort of talk, whatever. So Jerry has the place to himself, and he's a grown man. I think he's a bank manager or something, and he gets himself a curry. He has to put down newspaper so that it doesn't stain anything. And he hears something ring, and he just like jumps up because he thinks it's her discovering him eating a takeaway curry. He's so scared of her.
Right.
It's a wonderful character, and so that's why Margot came to mind there, just to give you a bit of background.
Fair.
Nothing to do with this song or this band at all, but a powerful image nonetheless.
At least it's Margot heavy content, so I can appreciate that. But yeah, that's interesting. So over time, many friends of Edwards and Fry in Indianapolis area joined the band, and by the time their first album, The Dust of Retreat, was released in 2006, the band contained 8 full-time members. After a move to Chicago in 2009, Edwards began to experiment with a new band lineup, eventually decided on a 6-man group made up of some former members and some Chicago area musicians. This new lineup allowed Edwards to take the band to a more rock-based direction, which would be seen in their next 2 studio albums, Buzzard in 2010 and Rot Gut Domestic in 2012. In an interview with blogger Adam Vikevich, Edwards discussed the future of the band. Edwards proclaimed, "I've threatened to break up this stupid band so many times. I don't want to continue crying wolf. That said, I don't currently see any real reason for Margot to continue." And I think from that point on, he's released some albums, but it's all just been solo stuff that he's done. So the band was signed by Epic Records after their first album, The Dust of Retreat. The big leagues aren't always accommodating to new bands, and the new band quickly clashed with Epic over which songs to include on their follow-up album. And eventually 2 different records would ultimately be released on October 7th, 2008. The band's preferred version, Animal, and the Epic-approved Not Animal, which featured those songs favored by the label. The latter record was the only one to receive a proper CD treatment, and Animal was just relegated to being on vinyl and digital release. This particular track features on Not Animal. Andrew Leahy of AllMusic wrote in his review of the albums, "Not Animal gets even better as it goes along. The sparser, melancholic songs are pushed to the front, leaving the band's energetic tunes to bring up the rear, which means the album ends on a high note, effectively masking most of the sour tastes left by the band's battle with Epic Records." In the Consequence of Sounds review of the album, Drew Litovitz noted, "Both albums could potentially stand alone as individual bodies of work. I have to say, however, that I lean more toward the views of the label and find Not Animal to be the stronger of the 2. Yet musically and thematically, they differ very slightly. It is Not Animal which seems to flow smoother with a more appropriate balance of loud and soft songs, though both albums are filled with the usual Margot onslaught of meticulous instrumentation, an army of layered but near perfected noise, all accompanied by the smooth, beautiful vocals of frontman and songwriter Richard Edwards." He would continue, "Every single song includes dozens of instruments, which for a band with 8 steady members is not a real shocker. The cinematic orchestration is consistent with the band's name. Alongside the orchestral pop music, the lyrical themes consistently depress. Talk of metaphoric bombs, guns, car accidents, poison, unrequited love, broken hearts, and lame parties are all sung by Edwards' calm and bittersweet soothing voice. Additionally, the song's somewhat cryptic nature make them rather difficult to understand at a glance, but are interesting and inventive enough to try to decipher." In his review of the song for National Road magazine, Corey Huffman wrote, "You can't help but get the sense that we are bearing witness to a sorrowful epilogue of a relationship gone awry. It's obvious that our lyrical protagonist is drunk and desperately rifling through scattershot memories of someone that's long gone. We can all relate to getting caught up in thinking back to another time and place, and the appeal that draws us in, because misery loves company. And we will jump into those lyrics, as miserable as they are.
I just to say, Andy,
Yeah.
it's gotta suck that you have a battle with the record label. You put out two different versions, and the lackeys that are the critics side with the label as.
I know. Yeah, they went big label.
Bastard.
Yeah, it's
I
a
haven't
shame.
either, but I know which one I prefer. Without even hearing.
Yeah, they clearly went up on that hill and died, unfortunately.
But
yeah. Yeah, they stood their ground, even if it was shaky ground. The lyrics: children, Broadripple is burning, and the girls are getting sick of huffing glue up in the bathroom while their boyfriends pick up chicks. And darling, I'm lost. I heard you whispering that night in Fountain Square. The trash-filled streets made me wish we were headed home. And there was love inside the basement where that woman used to lie, in a sleeping bag we shared upon the floor most every night. And darling, I'm drunk, and everything that I have loved has turned to stone. So pack your bags and come back home. And I'm wasted. You can taste it. Don't look at me that way, because I'll be hanging from a rope, and I will haunt you like a ghost. And if my woman was a fire, she'd burn out before I wake, and be replaced by pints of whiskey, cigarettes, and outer space. Then somebody moves, and everything you thought you had is gone to shit. But we've got a lot. Don't ever forget that. And I wrote this on an airplane where the people looked like eggs. I love that line, because like if you look down, like on an aerial shot of the seating chart of like a plane, it almost looks like egg cartons and all the little heads of the eggs popping out. It's just a really cool line. It takes me there visually. And I wrote this on an airplane where the people look like eggs. And when a woman that you loved is gone, she's bombing East Japan. Don't fucking move, because everything you think you have will go to shit. But we've got a lot. Don't you dare forget that. And I'm wasted. You can taste it. Don't look at me that way, because I'll be hanging from a rope. I'll haunt you like a ghost. And I'm wasted. You can taste it. Don't look at me that way, because I'm hanging from a rope. I'll haunt you like a ghost. Interesting little bit here. There was an article that was devoted solely to this song, kind of taking it all apart musically and lyrically, and people were different famous people like related to the band or who were very much inspired by the song or toured with the guys. They all had little bits to say, and an interesting quote came from one Rhett Miller, who I think you will know as the
old 97s.
Frontman of the old 97s, a band that we've covered on this channel thanks to John. He said this of the song and Edwards: "This is one of my favorite songs in the whole world, and I'm lucky enough to be friends with Richard. When I first became friends with him and asked him about the song, he dismissed it for having been too easy to compose. He said he just dashed it off. In his mind, I think that is an indicator of some shallowness, maybe. But maybe that is part of what makes it so great. It was born of the incredible instincts of a great writer, not overly filtered, reworked, or thought out, just brought into being, fully realized. He said he was just sitting in a parking lot waiting for a rehearsal to start. And there it was. I think this song is a real testament to Richard's natural genius." Yeah, it's a really great song, pretty ringing endorsement there from a contemporary of his. And I thought you might enjoy it. I'm glad it sounds like you did. Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
definitely. It's intriguing as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the haunt you like a ghost bit is kind of just standalone eerie when you hear it, especially when it comes in the wake of something about hanging from a rope.
Yeah, it's weak ass shit as well from a character point of view.
Oh yeah,
there was someone that I worked with. We went out on sort of a group thing that I organised sort of sporadically through the year, about 5 times a year it would happen. And a bunch of us would go out and go around the town where I lived, and really good for pub crawls. And we had a core sort of 5 or 6 that always came along, and then there were other people who came sometimes and didn't the others. and a few girls from the office came along, and we were chatting with one of them, and she'd moved in with this guy and his two small children, and he had threatened to kill himself if she ever left, and the
Oh,
children.
Jesus.
And he was beating on her as well. And I was so fucking outraged by this, you know. And I think we'd had a few drinks by this point, so we were definitely going to go around there and sort him out, but
Yeah.
just stopped us. But it's that real weak ass. Oh, don't do that, or I'll hurt myself.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah,
off.
that is some pussy stuff, dude.
Just go and hurt yourself, mate. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Get it over with. Quit hurting her. You know what I mean? If
Yeah,
you're filled with all this pain, directed at where it belongs.
yeah.
And also to answer your question, yeah, about Broadripple, or you mentioned it. It is a place. It's like a neighborhood in the Indianapolis, I think,
Right.
area. So yeah, very much of that area. This tune, which I think is why, especially people there in the Midwest, kind of gravitate toward this tune, and it's just a really good track in general. So. Thanks for giving it a listen, John. I really appreciate it. Guys out there in the listening audience, let us know what you think of Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos and this track Broadripple is Burning. Give us your thoughts, give us your recommendations, give us your comparatives, whatever you want. Comment field is there. It's your canvas on which to paint. Just be kind to each other and us. That's all we ask. Also, we're trying to grow the channel. Can't do that without you. We really do appreciate it. So if you're new here, think about hitting that subscribe button. Also, new, old, what have you, please hit the thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm and all the sorcery on the YouTube side of things. All that being said, hopefully John and I will see all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.